Hey, good morning, 8:38. The Superintendent John Fernandez joins us in the KUAM News Link Zoom room. Good morning, John.
Hi, good morning, Chris, Jason, Joe, sir. Just want to say, I know that last night, I'm a little tired because last night we had our board meeting for January. So
right. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and kind of start there. I wanted to take the opportunity to just congratulate our chairman, Mr. Mark Mendiola, and also our vice chair, Dr. Mary Okada, for being reelected for chair and vice chair this year. So I just want to recognize them, thank them, and of course they've been very good partners in leading the board and the department through this pandemic and through this return to learning, to teaching and learning that we've been going through the last year and a half. So I did want to just recognize them, and again, that'll provide some stability going into the rest of this school year, the rest of the year. So the board meeting, we took care of that, and then we can start anywhere. I'm not sure what kind of questions you have or have been hearing about. We are doing our best right now to just withstand this latest surge in cases due to COVID-19. And I think as you've discussed and have seen, this looks very different from the prior variants and the prior waves that we've gone through. I mean, I think we discussed last week, and almost the things that we were using to measure the pandemic have kind of gone out the door because the number of cases are just so high, and it's just different types of effects on people than we've seen before. So right. I am thankful for the public health affirmation that we aren't seeing as many hospitalizations and severe cases as we have in the past. But of course, the numbers still create a lot of anxiety and a lot of concern. So I just wanted to be able, just to let our community know that, of course, we're aware of the situation. We do know, and we continue to follow the latest public health protocols. I mean, it's kind of been hard to keep up with because of some of the recent changes, but we're doing our best to do that. But it is affecting us at the school level. So over the last week, actually a couple of weeks already, we've been deploying a lot of our central office staff out to schools on a daily basis, just based on need, based on the number of faculty and staff who might be in isolation due to a positivity, or who are quarantining due to contact tracing and need to get tested. So we're doing what we can to keep in operation, because we do want our kids to have opportunity to go to school. And this is not, the shortage that we're seeing is not at every school. I think we're tracking about 13, 14 schools out of 41 who are seeing the need for additional support.
Right, yeah.
So we're doing our best to, but I know that there are a lot of employees out there who've been working hard and putting their time in, maybe in different roles as well, to just help with school supervision and so forth. So we're going to monitor this situation. We hope that the number of cases start to decline as has been projected, but we need to continue to reassess our strategy due to the fact that this is a lot of wear and tear on the schools right now as they try to withstand.
Right. Yeah. And I think the key word you said there, John, was withstand, and that's kind of what you do in a super typhoon, is you just wait and withstand it, right? But it's a little bit of a different situation. But when you talk about we'll just start, I guess, on the shortages. You're saying 13 to 14 of the 41 schools have been hard hit by staff shortages. How hard are we talking about?
Well, to give you a sense, we are pushing out between, I think today we've got 42 employees out. There was 42 employees from Central who have gone out to the schools to assist in the classroom or with school supervision. And I think earlier this week we had about 58. So between 40 and 60 employees are what the schools are calling for additional support. And we've been lucky just to be able to provide those numbers. If it goes up any further, I mean, it's going to be get more difficult. But so far we've been able to generally meet the needs and continue to support the school staffing. but it's not easy. And so, we've just really, our staff here at Central still have their jobs to do, payroll, procurement, other things that are now having to sit, they have to sit for, while they're out, at the schools. But, we're reminding our employees that, our core mission is to keep our kids, at school teaching, or keep our teachers, give them the ability to continue teaching, supporting our kids at the front lines and our employees as well. So if our schools aren't operating, I mean, what we do at the central office is really, not going to be as important. So we're going to try to take this short-term approach, but, it can't last, that long before we have to, reassess and maybe think through, other strategies.
Yeah.
If this goes much longer.
Yeah. So let's just talk about those other strategies, right? I mean, so you have the staffing issues, but then you've also got record student positive cases. And I say that because, I mean, traditionally, right, you guys just started testing, so there's not much of a track record on it. But, when I see 61, 38, 24, I mean, it's alarming, even when we're being told that it's mild because it's kids. And I know, some classes will have like 4, 5, 6 kids out of the class because of, exposure to a close contact. So you have the staff shortages and being able to kind of, like you said, your core mission, educating the kids, keeping them in school, but then you've also got that familiar cross-current conversation about parents and kids' safety and, do we need to go to cohorts? Do we need to go online? I'm sure the Catholic schools went online, but, Father Val spent a lot of time talking about how them making a decision to go online is way easier than you making a decision to go online. So where are we with that? And maybe if you just want to address the parents.
So definitely. I mean, we've heard from a lot of parents, and we did hear there were suggestions that we go back into cohorts, and the issue with cohorts is that doesn't help us with our staffing shortage. I think when you have a staffing shortage, whether you are going to cohorts or not, if a teacher is not in class, they're just not able, no matter what cohort you're in, they're not going to be able to be there, and the staff won't be there to supervise. So the staffing shortage doesn't lend itself to that type of solution. Moving online is a possibility. It's always been an option, but it's a much bigger challenge for us to do so. And in doing so, it also, different kids and different families are impacted in different ways when we go online. We know that in-person instruction is more effective for all of our students. We go to online, we do that when we have to, and we are evaluating scenarios, but those scenarios at this point do not involve a whole system, moving virtual. As we monitor the situation with schools, I think one of the things that we're looking at is if there is any school that goes into a situation where we can't provide the staff and support, we have contemplated putting that particular school, for them to go virtual, and then for their staff to be reallocated to the schools to, help address the staffing shortages at other schools. So if we do go in that direction because of a prolonged, wave of COVID-19 this time, it'll likely be only 1 or 2 schools on a case-by-case basis, and then the available staff at those schools will go and help address the shortages or needs of other schools. I think like the superintendent said, for our Catholic schools, it's not really an issue. I mean, we rely on public health to kind of give that bright line of what is safe and what's not safe. And, it hasn't been easy over the last couple of weeks because we have the, guidelines that say you've got to, you should do this, and then you must do this. And, there's a little bit of a gray area there that confuses people. So, at the same time, we want to make sure we're complying with the guidelines that are out there. We're doing what's required to stay safe and to operate. And again, going above and beyond that with our own safety measures. But ultimately, like Superintendent Val said, a lot of it has to do with staffing shortages versus the spread of COVID. It's more about not having enough staff, and also not having the ability to test quickly and clear employees or students quickly as well. So one of the things that came up at the board meeting was looking into the expanded capacity to test at the school sites. We already test our unvaccinated employees as part of the governor's mandate, but we're looking at facilitating the testing and clearance of our own employees and possibly the students as well, if that will help relieve the disruption that we're seeing due to the wait in order to get tested, or the wait in order to get an official clearance. So, we're looking into that. I think the biggest issue is supply of tests. I think we have the staff that are trained to do the testing. We have the school nurses, but right now I think you've heard, there's a shortage of tests. Yeah. So it's going to be more difficult for us to implement if we don't have the adequate supply. And we're continuing to work with public health to try to get that supply available.
What's your supply of test kits?
Well, right now I don't have the numbers, except to say that they were done based on calculations relative to our unvaccinated employees. So we have about 170 employees who test weekly. So the supply that we're given is really anticipated to support that effort. What we're talking about now is expanding that. I mean, if you see the number of cases of employees the number of employees who have to be out just to quarantine and wait for testing, that's a much higher number. So it really means expanding the number of tests and then seeing how far that supply will go in addressing our needs.
John, so do you guys test the kids with the results of your report?
So we don't at this point. What we do, the only testing we do is, we did get authorization to test and to test at schools, but again, the only thing we do at this point is relative to the governor's mandate for the employees to be vaccinated, or if they're unvaccinated, to get weekly tests. So now we're talking about, if an employee is vaccinated, but they're a close contact, can we go ahead and test them, especially if they're not showing symptoms? Or if there are symptomatic employees or who want to get tested, do we have available tests to do that at school so that we can get an early result and not have to have them waiting or being in line to go get tested? So it's expanding from the unvaccinated to the vaccinated employees and possibly the students, depending on having the amount of tests available.
Well, so what is the protocol for you guys with staff as far as just staff and students with close contact and positive?
So right now, the guidance, we follow the guidance that was put out. And of course, if you're unvaccinated, there seems to be more of a 10-day period of time before you are able to be cleared to come back. For the vaccinated, again, we have this recommendation to have them quarantine for 5 days and to test at certain intervals. And then if you're vaccinated and boosted, you don't need to quarantine, but you're required to get the tests at a certain interval. I believe it's immediately and then 5 to 7 days. So, again, depending on your vaccination status, there might be different approaches, but the key is, are we able to administer the tests so we can confirm whether they are positive or negative, and give us assurance that they're ready to come back to the classroom. I think the other thing was in our previous guidance, all the employees who were required to quarantine were also required to get a clearance from public health. And as you know, public health issued revised guidance last week that clearance wasn't required from public health in order for you to return to work, although the clearance can be made available upon request. So we're looking at, number one, is it easier for is it going to work for employees to email public health and get that request by email, which I think has been made available, or can we get our school nurses and administrators to participate in the clearance process? Because we know when the employees we know the information regarding their time frames for being able to return after quarantine. So that's again this guidance is changing, and we're trying to change with it and try to be clear to our stakeholders regarding the the new rules or the new guidance so that they understand what to expect from GDOE and public health. Unfortunately, it's not an easy thing to do because not only do you need to get the updated information, then you need to ensure that all 41 schools are aware of it and are able to implement it consistently. And so we're continuing to work on that, but we do get a lot of questions because of the changes in the guidance.
You know, you talked about online and discussions about a possible return to it. What's the status with the laptops and the MiFis?
So the laptops are available at schools. There should be enough supply, and schools have been on notice that in the event that they need to go online, they have to be ready to switch that on as soon as possible, including ensuring that the laptops are distributed and everyone's ready with Google Classroom and they can move quickly. The MiFis, my understanding is right now we have all of those students and families who had the MiFis already from the prior from the first batch of MiFis. We had a brief interruption of services, but those have since been restored. So they should still be able to have access through the MiFis to the internet. There is a new procurement that has been it was in protest, but now that the protest has been lifted for now, and we're proceeding to I guess hopefully award the procurement within the next couple of weeks, and that'll expand the number of MiFis available to more families who are seeking that kind of support. As you recall, in the early wave, when we first put out the MiFis, we did not get as many requests as we had hoped for, and I don't know if it was I guess people may be anticipating this is only short term, and we're not going to we're going to return it anyway. But after we went through the last school year, the numbers of requests have gone up, and so we're trying to have MiFis on hand to meet that additional demand.
John, on a personal note, so I had signed up for a MiFi, but I never got to pick it up. Right. So if you had signed up for it, is there a timeline on like how far back you're still okay to go get one? Asking for a friend. I really am. There's other people who did the same thing, John.
Well, I think at this point, if you did not pick your MiFi up, it may have already been redistributed to somebody else, because I know that the current supply, we don't have any additional right now. However, if the next award goes through smoothly, the number of MiFis that we'll have available, I think it's double at least double the 3,000 or so that we have out right now. So there should be available supply for those who request and do want to come pick it up this round.
Man, John, I just refreshed my memory because I don't know if it's public health or GDOE, but with the pandemic EBT cards that were given out right last year, is it you guys that's kind of standing that up again for this year? What's the status?
Yeah, so it's kind of a joint effort. I mean, it relies on information from GDOE that goes to public health, and then public health issues the cards and then loads those cards for families. So the first round of PEBT cards that went out covered the last school year, and so the next round would cover, I believe, the summer period. And so my understanding is that we did provide information to public health, and we're just awaiting their announcement of when the cards or the cards will be loaded with the additional funding support. I believe it's in the amount of about $400 some based on the number of days over the summer that schools were closed. So that will be public health to determine that. I'll check back in today to see where they're at. So
do you have a timeline on that?
I don't. I know that over December they were seeking information, and I know my staff indicated that they had provided the information, and there was probably some reconciliation that public health was doing. It sounded minor, so I hope that that'll be provided shortly. I would hope within over the next month, if not sooner.
Right. So this is for all public school students, and actually had gotten because I got kids in the public school system. I got a few of the cards, and just from what I heard from the public health staff, is they were telling people to hang on to the cards because they would be reloaded, and if you don't have the card, then you got to go through the whole process of waiting in line. Right.
Right. Right. So if you have the cards, and the easy thing is that if there's additional assistance, it'll be automatically loaded onto your card. Now, if you didn't pick up a card and you're eligible, you have to. I believe you have to make an appointment with public health to go down and pick those cards up at their offices.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yes, hang on to the cards because I think the whole point of it is that when it comes time to reload it, it can be done more easily that way.
Right on. Last question, the toughest one, John. I hope you're ready for this one. Above satisfactory evaluation from the board.
Oh, well, I thought we were going to get to skip that one. No, I do. We, as part of the agenda yesterday, was the completion and approval of my evaluation, and so the board approved a overall performance rating of 4.4 on a scale of 5.0. So I asked my staff if that's deemed proficient or in need of additional support, but or is it a grade associated with it? But I think it does. From the board's perspective, I do want to thank them for their continued confidence in the leadership and then also in all the work that we're doing in the department. I mean, there's just no way to separate the work that I'm doing from everything else that's going on, because especially during this pandemic, everybody has had to step up, be flexible in the roles and assignments that they've had to take on. And I'm very proud of getting this far, through these challenges, and also being able to return our focus more to reopening schools and getting our kids, back into the classroom. So it's been a very difficult journey, a lot of hard decisions, but I think we've always tried to be collaborative, transparent, get as much input as we can. And I'm hoping that ahead we'll be able to, like I said, withstand this wave and then continue to progress out of this COVID-19 situation and back to focusing on teaching and learning. So I'm hoping that this year we can start to see that that come to fruition. But thank the board. I want to thank my management team and my central office employees and all the employees out of the schools and our students and families for just working together to try to make the best out of this situation and keep putting our next foot forward as we try as a community to get out of COVID-19 and back to better days. So thanks for recognizing that.
Of course, John. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now your comments are going to light up with lots of complaints, and but that's it. We got work. We got a lot of work ahead and a lot of things to do. So there's never a moment to rest.
Yeah.
So
hey, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, how long is your contract for?
Well, it's my contract was extended to 2025.
Okay.
But this is my 10th year.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I hit July 1st, that'll be 10 years here in the department, which I think is, from where we were before, when I think the average tenure of a superintendent was about 14 months. Wow. In the 20 or 30 years before I came here. So hopefully that's a good sign. Whether it's me or someone else, that there's always some stability within the department and be insulated from the politics and all the other ups and downs that we see in the community. We need steadiness and stability in order to make progress. So thankful for the board for continuing to support me in that role.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and maybe it's a generational thing, but some people don't remember what it was like when GDOE wasn't in its current state, where you guys have a board and you kind of run yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing when I did my own research and I looked at all the superintendents and how long they served, and when it came out that it was an average of 14 months, and that includes the previous ones that were appointed for 4 years, and 14 months means that you're in the leadership position for about one school year. Yeah. And then you're off, somebody else, and there's just no way to move in one direction. If every school year you've got a different set of priorities and a different set of leaders. So I think it's a good sign that we've been able to stabilize and kind of head in the same direction. We can always make improvements, but I think it's going to be a continued partnership between the board, myself, and all of our stakeholders to do that.
John, just last question: was there an update with the third-party fiduciary status?
Not yet. I have a meeting with USED. I think it's tomorrow or early next week. But the next big step is for USED to come on island. And I think I remember I told you they were going to do a virtual visit in January. And when we were able to go to the higher ups at USED, we were able to get them to commit to an on-site visit. And that's going to happen sometime in April or May. And the on-site visit is very critical because there are a lot of things that they are not going to check off the list virtually. They said we got to be there. We want to see it for ourselves, and we're hoping to get that as a final, give us a final review of some of the things that have been long-standing issues over the past year. Couple of years, they haven't been able to travel.
Right.
So that's really held us up in getting to that next level. So April or May, when we get a date, we'll definitely let you know. And of course, get ready for their visit.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
There you
guys.
go. So there's Superintendent John Fernandez. Some of the takeaways: school-wide shutdowns, closures, not going to happen. What he did say was that, what they're anticipating and what the train of thought is that they might be hit so hard by the staff shortages that it could force the closure of certain schools that are affected by these shortages, and not like a district-wide shutdown. He also said that they are discussing online learning, and I think it would be, again, school by school and a case by case basis. So for all my fellow parents out there, I know it's crazy. It's the new normal, right? Where you got to send your kids to school with 700, 600, 800, 500 positive cases, and they're telling us it's mild. There are people dying. A lot of what they're saying doesn't match up. I mean, not even, you don't got to be an Einstein. Like, anybody who's reasonable will just be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And it's, I don't know, the